So just a slightly changing tack, and this is, we're now on to the easy questions.
Go on.
So I mean, I've known you for a number of years, and I think you're an unbelievably hard-working and a very creative person, particularly across all the different musical personas that you have. And yes, some musicians kind of speed up. The creative output seems to accelerate. And if you look at everybody in here like Jean-Michel Jarre, you've seen his creative input over the last 10 years just absolutely go interstellar. And some musicians do that. You seem to be doing that. Is that an accurate reflection of, you think, where you are in your career? And this is one for Sian, maybe she's in the room. Do you ever rest up and relax?
No. It's addictive, basically, making music. And so I've been doing it for 30 odd years, and I still love every day going in the studio. You know, it's not a proper job, and I'm very lucky to be able to do it. And no, I just get a thrill of recording and then going back to the day when I was 7 or 8 years old and I had this cassette, a mono cassette recorder. I would have 2 of them, a multi-track with that, and it sounded dreadful. And then my brother then bought us a 4-track. That was amazing. And just get hooked on it. But it's the creative process, which I love, and I can't stop doing it. I just want to do it all the time. But what I got to do, I rest each project basically. So I do a Sanctuary album. It'll take me like 6 months. I get sick of it at the end, and I don't want to hear it ever again. Hence leaving the room. But it's like, and then I've got to rest and go and do my Magenta band, which is prog, hyper prog. And then I'll do that for 6 months, and I'll get sick of that. And I'll go and do my Chimpan A project, which is all electronic and stuff. But then, after doing those 2 albums, I'm really gagging to go back and do a Sanctuary record. And if I just did that, and I think, even looking back at Mike Oldfield, really, it must have been hard. You run out of ideas, and you start repeating yourself, and having to come up with the same stuff. I couldn't imagine doing that. I get bored. So I love the fact I can go to another project and come back to the Sanctuary stuff. But
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if Julian's in there. I was chatting with Julian whilst we were having tea, and he was saying, can you ask Rob how he separates his musical personas? And I know you take your break, you almost kind of like refresh your palette and say, right, okay, now I'm ready to do something else, or you may be ready to go back and finish off the Sanctuary album because you ran out of steam or ran out of time. And how do you feel about the fact that maybe some fans might like Sanctuary, probably everybody in this room, but there's also some people that might like Magenta as well, but some people that only like Magenta and Sanctuary. Does that concern you in any way at all?
Not really. No, it's a different kind of different people and different. So there is a little bit of crossover, but I like the fact that there's a different community you're into that. It's a bit hard. Let's discuss the elephant in the room of some of the abuse you get. When I did the first Sanctuary record, some of the abuse online was like shocking. It was like I didn't expect it to be. I'd only made a record. I hadn't killed anybody, and it was like. And it was a lot. I was protective of Mike Oldfield's music as well, as much as everyone else. And if someone else had done that, I probably would have been equally his thing. But it's a tricky one, and then everyone was going, I don't mind if people don't like it. I can live with that. And that's fair enough. If you think it's rubbish, then you go, okay, that's cool. But not to even listen to it as a piece of music without the baggage. That hurt a little bit. And the other thing which knocked me a bit was they were like, one trick pony. It's all, no one knew of my career outside making all these records and albums and tours and all this kind of stuff. Everyone just thought I was just doing this to cop some loot off the back of Mike Oldfield, which is not what I was trying to do.
True. Yeah.
And I've had lots of conversations with Tom about this, and he was like, ignore it all. I said, yeah. But if I don't do it, then the art form and the style is going to end. It's going to finish, and that'll be such a shame. And that's what Tom was saying. You've got to keep doing it to keep the form of music going. And And so that was really good. That was reassuring as well. But it's a tricky one to balance, and I think I try not to read it, but now it's getting less and less,
Yeah,
which is good.
it is
People
good,
are coming
yeah.
around to it and accepting it.
Or they're saying, well, it's not for me, and
That's fair enough. I don't mind that.
I got some abuse as well, actually, from allowing your presence and the promotion of your music on the Facebook group, which I thought, well, you can choose to like it if you wish, or you can choose not to listen to it if you don't like it. And I think you have to allow for that separation. You can't be so blinkered that, well, you're ripping off Mike Oldfield, you're taking money out of his pocket almost. I mean, it's just such an absurd idea.
Bizarre.
It really is. But just returning to Sanctuary 4 now. I mean, when I first listened to it, probably it must have been 6 months or so ago now, I found, well, actually, it touched me in a way that I found was sort of quite reflective and introspective in some ways. Does that strike a chord with how you were feeling when you were creating that, or have I completely missed the mark? And if I've missed the mark, you make everybody laugh. That's
No. Bang on. No, I don't know. It's it was definitely because I'd done the first 3 albums, and then I had this mad idea of completely changing the title and doing the Ringmaster, which confused everyone completely, and that was meant to be like a continuation of it, but this one was coming back to just doing the 2 side 1 and side 2 with a little bit at the end. And I'd had lots of conversations with Tom about the style and not to play it safe, that kind of thing. So I ended up with basically a side 1 and a side 2, which I battled with forever, trying to think of. Side 1 was a lot more easy on the ear, then side 2 was like a horror film, man. All this weird discordant stuff. And it was, trying to battle, and Tom was pushing that very much. So I don't know. It's whatever comes out, and then you just work. The amount of stuff I threw out, and the amount of stuff that Tom threw out, which hurt me. I'd send him the stems, and he'd come back and go, "My favourite bit is gone." And Tom would have cut this 3 minutes bit out. "Oh, it's rubbish. You don't need it." And I was like, "Oh my God, I spent 6 months doing that. That's my favourite bit." But on reflection, he was right. Everything was right, and his contribution and Les to making this record is unbelievable. Because I'd have Tom on one side, like a devil, going, "Make it more less commercial, make it hard, offend everyone," and I had Les, this little angel, on the other side, going, "Make it lovely and all this kind of stuff." So, which is really good. So we ended up with a side 1, which is lovely, and a side 2, which is a bit more, all right,
a bit more out there.
Yeah, and I loved it, but I just didn't know which way around to do it. So we ended up, I think I got tossed a coin. I asked you.
We had a conversation about it. I remember because I listened to it and I felt that actually they should be flipped. So because the out there piece was part 1 when I first listened to it, and then the much sort of livelier upbeat piece was part 2, and I felt that was quite a challenging listen when you're introduced to a new piece of music and you think, whoa. And I remember I was sitting at the time listening to it. I was thinking, this is really quite challenging, and it's quite hard to digest that, as your first exposure to it. So I think that's why I suggested, well, have you thought about, or would it work creatively for you to flip those 2 around?
Well, we did. I think the compromise was, and it was, Les came up with this idea, because he loved the end of whatever part it was. He said he reckoned that the endings were the wrong way around. So the last 5 minutes of each side was the wrong way around. So I swapped the nice bit over there, and I had the challenger bit on side 2, but then I cut them in half, and then swapped the ends around as well. And it worked. It was absolutely bang on.
It absolutely worked.
It had the right ending.
Yeah.
But I had to re-record bits and iron the join between the sections.
Yeah.
But it was so much better, and I would never have thought of that.
You're probably too close to it, actually, because you've gone through the creative process. You've written it, you've demoed it, you've recorded it, probably re-recorded it and re-recorded it again. So it's very hard then to be objective about the piece.
Well, it is, and I think every player, composer needs someone with a bigger stick to sort of deal with their ego, to tell them when they're wrong. And I think that's why I love the relationship between Mike working with Tom, that Tom would bring out the best, and the same with me. You know, he would break me at some points. You know, on the third album, I remember sending it to him. I'd finish it all. He was about to go to the pressing plant, and he was ready to go. And I sent it to Tom. I said, "Tom, just check this now. Make sure it's all cool. I'm going to send it." He phoned me up. He said, "Oh, it's rubbish." I was like, "What?" I said, "It's ready to go. I'm going to press it." He goes, "No, it's rubbish." I go, "What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?" He said, "You've mixed it like a BBC sound engineer." And he said, "It's all too nice." He said, "You've got no dynamics in it." And I thought, "Oh my God." And I played it and I thought, "Oh, you're right." And he was absolutely right. So I think everybody needs someone. I think every composer's got an ego. You've got to have an ego to see it through, to believe in what you're doing. But you need someone that you respect to tell you sometimes, this can be better, you can push yourself a bit more, otherwise you take the easy route. And we don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, yeah.